You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. So glad you could join me here today. Excited to get into today's show as we cover the topic, 2 often overlooked reasons why people are not able to get well and lose the weight. So this is such a big topic, obviously super important with so many people frustrated right now with nagging symptoms. Their doctor's giving them one explanation. They're trying to figure out what the underlying root causes are. Some people are trying to lose weight, burn fat, tone up, and the problem is they seem to be able to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, then all of a sudden they plateau. What is the reason for this? Well, it goes much deeper than surface level, and that's the real problem that I have today with a lot of conventional medicine. It's not that I don't approve of conventional medicine. I approve of it and agree with it in acute-based circumstances. But when people have been dealing with chronic-based dis-ease of the body for months or years, that is considered chronic. It means ongoing and most likely never going away. For example, the aches and the pains and the brain fog and the poor energy and the thinning hair and the wrinkling skin, all of these things, they do not go away unless you do something to make them go away. That's really the only way that it happens. Chronic-based disease is a slow accumulation and wearing down of the body. That's really what it is, and it happens from the inside out. So if the outside, the exterior is starting to look like you're getting run down, or you're starting to maybe age more rapidly than you would appreciate, right? That you would prefer not to see. Well, the real reason is internal. It's always internal. Yes, we can get sun damage. All of those things can happen. But I'll tell you right now, there are a lot of people that get sun, but they have a very strong antioxidant-based reserve. They're better able to repair and regenerate, hands down. And I'm going to give you some reasons here today. But it goes back to this, and this is extremely important. People get sick. They get diseases of the body. They get run down. And they end up with all of the autoimmune issues, the allergies, the asthma, the skin rashes, the headaches, etc., because there's a toxicity and there's some type of typically deficiency. And I've done previous shows on specifically how this happens for the thyroid, how it can work with the adrenals. But today I want to go over something, let's go with a macro level, even more root cause than the specifics that I've given you before on the 4 toxins that affect your thyroid. Please check that out at stephencabral.com/podcast, the 4 toxins that affect your thyroid, and the 2 minerals that weaken your thyroid, meaning like the 2 minerals that your thyroid needs in order to produce thyroid hormone. If you don't have those, you're going to be hypolothyroid. And if you have the toxicities, you're going to most likely trend towards then Hashimoto's thyroiditis or maybe even Graves' disease. But again, these are diseases of the body we give a name to so that we can stamp it down on a piece of paper, put down an ICD-9 code or an ICD-4 code, the former codes. We can bill health insurance and we can give you a prescription, right? That's the methodology behind it. But the name itself has no weight at all. By telling someone they have Hashimoto's, it tells you nothing. It gives you the man's name that decided to say he discovered what Hashimoto's thyroiditis is. Great, okay. So thank you for that. Name goes on it. We're good, right? Same with Addison's disease. So I suffer from Addison's disease and I don't have it anymore, right? Why? Because Addison's disease is not a real thing. And I know that will make a lot of people upset, but I don't want it to make you upset. I want it to empower you. If I had Addison's disease, which I did, I was diagnosed with it. That was just one of many diagnoses. So if I had that, then I wouldn't be able to get rid of it, right? All I would be able to do was medicate it. That's it. I'd be on the Cortef the rest of my life and the Florinef the rest of my life for POTS. So here's the thing. It's that Addison's was another doctor. The disease name was named after him. He discovered that some people stop producing cortisol, and those people are said to have Addison's disease. Okay, so what is Addison's disease, though? It is the inability to produce cortisol even when the hypothalamus and pituitary gland is stimulated to produce glucocorticoids. But the problem is this: there's always a reason why. And if you don't go back to the reason why, then you will always suffer from the weight gain issues or losing too much weight, right? You will not be able to get well. And for so many people out right now, they don't have a disease. There's no diagnosed disease. But what they do is they feel tired. They feel low vitality. They feel run down. They need caffeine to get them going. They're oftentimes bloated. They just kind of feel like blah. And that is not the way to live your life. We as humans were not meant to live that life. And there's so many people out there right now that just feel like, well, it's just a consequence of getting older. You know, my eyesight's going, joints start to hurt, a little less energy, a little less ambition, low drive, low vitality, right? All of those things. And the problem is it's happening way too early in life. If you have these symptoms and you're in your 50s, it's way too early. Same with 60s. I'll give you a little bit in your 70s. That's it. A little bit of aches every once in a while, okay? Because those joints, why? They've gotten some use. I understand that part, but there's still so much that we can do, right? And it's only going to get better. Here's the problem, though. We're suffering diseases of age, and instead of getting them in the 80s, we're getting them right now in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and that's inappropriate. It's not appropriate for the body. So we have to look at this from a different methodology, and that's this. I got this question quite often, and that's why I wanted to bring it up today, and it's on toxicity. So think of it this way, and I've done how to do a functional medicine detox. I'm not going to go through the actual science and all of those things today. I want you to think of it from a greater macro perspective, and that just kind of means like you're in a plane, let's say you're 15,000 feet above the earth. You can look down and you can see all of the houses, you can see lakes, you can see roads, you can see a lot, and it gives you a different perspective. And I'm someone that has to travel quite often. And even though traveling is not the best thing that you can do for your health, that's for sure. What it allows me to do is speak to a lot of different people, meet a lot of different people. And so one thing that I hear come up quite often is that I just don't feel well when I begin a lot of healing protocols. And I totally get it. I totally understand right away when they're saying that. But to me, I understand the why, right? So a lot of health practitioners, they know exactly what the client needs to do. Let's say that you come in right now with, you have a candida and bacterial overgrowth, right? So you have candida overgrowth in your gut. You ran a organic acids test. We found there high candida. And you ran a stool test and we found high levels of E. coli and Klebsiella species. Okay, different types of bacteria in the gut. So we say, okay, well, we know exactly how to do this. Like, we're just going to take you through the protocol. But the problem is, people start to feel worse. Not a lot of people, but maybe 1 out of 20. And so we know now why. We know here's what they need to do. They need to eliminate that yeast overgrowth. They need to eliminate that bacterial overgrowth. They need to get back into balance. Problem is this. As we start to put these supplements and certain elimination-based diets that we do with people into practice, their body has already met the top of that rain barrel, right? If you're already at the top of the rain barrel and you create any type of die-off and you're putting additional supplements into someone's body, what does that do? Well, it asks the liver to do even more work. And right now, from a functional level, you're not going to see this show up as a high elevated level of ALT or AST. It's not how it's affected. It's affected on your body's ability to produce certain enzymes in the cytochrome P450 pathway, that's phase 1, as well as certain conjugated amino acids, and that's the sulfur-based pathway in phase 2 of the liver. You don't need to know about how any of this works, except for the fact that it's a process that happens every nanosecond of every minute of every day. So what I want you to think about this, and again, if you want to go back and you want to listen to exactly what a functional medicine detox is, I highly recommend doing that. And I just did a show about maybe 100 shows ago at the most called Beware of Deceptive Detox. I can't recommend listening to that show enough, and that's because I'm going to get into this right now. If someone's taking they're doing a supplement protocol recommended by, like, here's the thing. I see, and my coaches, because I can't see everybody in my practice, there's only so many hours, right? But what I do is I get to read hundreds of labs, and I give recommendations for everyone that runs a lab at equilibriumnutrition.com and everyone in my practice. So every once in a while we hear that is like, I feel worse. Well, there is that Herxheimer, but here's what's going on, is that your body, again, has already met its upper limit. So we know what to do. They've already been with a half a dozen other practitioners, and we say, listen, we see what they did. We see what the other practitioners did, and they're not wrong. Like, they're right? But it was either way too many supplements too fast, and the supplements were correct as well. The problem was you are just not able to tolerate them right now. And the reason you're not able to tolerate them right now is most likely because they're activated B vitamins, they're the correct things. It's just more for your body to process. And you have a lot of intestinal permeability. So every time you put in a supplement or every time you eat, it's spilling through the gut wall. And guess exactly where it's going. It's going from your lymphatic tissue to your liver. And your liver has to do what with it? It has to process it. Good, bad, nothing's really neutral, right? But when you look at it, your liver still does that work. And you're asking it to do it every time you eat. So just for an example, I was just reading, I probably read 60, 70 labs today. Well, almost every day, but for 2 big meetings a week, I read every lab that comes in through, again, like I said, Equilibrium Nutrition. And we have an amazing team of health coaches, and all I do is essentially kind of proof their work because they're amazing. And so I'm making just minor tweaks here and there. Well, one person came in and just can't work, can't do anything, just really trying to rest their body. Here's the problem. We know what we need to do. People know what they need to do to get well. The problem is when this person puts anything in their body, food, supplement, etc., they react negatively. More brain fog, more rundown, really debilitating. Well, here's the thing. We know that this person legitimately they're full. That's it. They can't take on anymore. Their body's telling us that. So our first job in this scenario is actually to empty the rain barrel before putting more in. If you're sensitive to everything in the world, we need to do 2 things. 1, calm that nervous system, without a doubt. Calm the nervous system. Reduce fight or flight. Reduce sympathetic nervous system dominance. Number 2, we need to seal up that gut wall. Hands down, 9 times out of 10, there's a gut permeability issue. And everything you put in is not being processed well enough, and it's moving through that gut wall. Okay? Extremely important. So we're going to do that. And someone might not feel fantastic right out of the gates, but here's what we know that we need to do. We need to do a detox. Okay? We know that we need to do that. Why? Because it's the hands down best thing to give the liver what it needs to support itself, to be able to detoxify, so then it can do what? Then take on more. If your glass is full, you can't add more to it, right? You can't add more. What would happen to it? It would overflow. What would you feel if the cup is overflowing? Well, you'd feel the effects of it overflowing, which in most cases for a lot of people that are full is the brain fog or migraines or skin rashes or autoimmune-based issues, right? Joint pain, inflammation. It all then expresses itself according to your genetics. But again, genetics matter only when you filled up that rain barrel. That is important to look at. Remember, think about this, that you were born with some type of birth-based defect, mutation, etc. So if you were born with one less valve in the heart, that's not a genetic issue. That's actually a birth-based issue. That's a biomechanical. What I'm talking about is everyone's predisposed to a dis-ease in their body. So for example, forget about the Addisons I had and the POTS, okay? Predisposed family-wise, we're predisposed, my family, rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes, okay? What happened to me at 17 years old? Sure, I had Addisons, I had POTS, I had a lot of things going on, fibromyalgia, etc., right? Lots of allergies, you name it. It was there, SIBO, Candida. But here's what happened. I got rheumatoid arthritis and I got diabetes at a super young age. How does that happen? Genetics, right? But I don't have it today. So what does that tell you? It means that your genetics predisposes you to certain things. There's no doubt about that. I don't deny that. But what happens is they will not manifest themselves unless you've reached your capacity, right? You've filled up your rain barrel. But here's the nice thing. 20 plus years later, I no longer have Addisons. I don't have POTS. I don't have rheumatoid arthritis. I don't have type 2 diabetes. I don't have fibromyalgia. I don't have the allergies. I don't have any of those things that really were chronic-based issues with me for many years. And here's the reason why. I have emptied that rain barrel, but also I've corrected the imbalances. So I want to stay in this toxicity for one more moment before I move on to deficiencies. Toxicities do exist, right? And you can lab test them. They're easy to do. Like, these are easy to do. You can run the big 5 that we have plus the stool test. I know not everyone's going to be able to run all of those labs, but that will tell you, hands down, here are your toxicities, here are your deficiencies. You can't deny lab data, okay? That's why labs are so powerful. That's why they're so amazing. That's why when I started running them, that's when I started to get well, because I could work on something. But here's the other thing. So no matter what doctor you work with, or integrative health practitioner, or naturopathic doctor, etc., and to me, I just want you to get the help that you need, or a loved one that maybe you're listening to this podcast for them. You have to understand this, that a lot of the protocols they do give you are correct. The problem is they're either not done in the right order, or it's too much too soon. And they're not doing that because they don't want to help you. What happens is we're not taught to make those bio-individualized recommendations. So just as an example, we have this candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. We see this person with massive amounts of brain fog. What we need to do first is we do a detox. Mine is the Dr. Cabral detox, but again, you can do whatever functional medicine, a real functional medicine detox, meaning like gives you the specific nutrients. Here's what we do. We do that, and we know that it might not be their best week, but we're emptying that rain barrel, right? And then we're starting the CBO protocol. But here's what we're also doing. We're not starting at the full dosage. We're doing one product, and even though there's 3 each month, we're doing one product and only at 1 capsule. Because we can't do less than that. We know they need it. We know there's candida overgrowth. We know there's the Klebsiella species. We know there's the E. coli. We know we have to get rid of it. And then we have to seal the gut. So we start at the lowest possible dosage. That's it. And we watch for reactions. If that works, great. Then we add the second capsule. Perfect. Then we move up to 2 capsules twice a day as we ease up. Then what do? Then we work in the next product. And then we work up that. And we see, what is this person's upper limit? And you might say, well, that's going to take 3 or 4 times as long. And you're right. And that's why a lot of people want to get better yesterday. And believe me, I can relate. I spent 10 years trying to get well. Nobody should ever spend that long. But keep in mind, we did not have the plethora of information that we have now. Okay? So I first got sick in the late 90s. There was no real good sharing of information. Functional medicine doctors, they were just in the infancy, and they were just going to conferences. There was no internet per se to be able to share this knowledge. You read books, which got me into my love of reading, right? But that's not a bad thing, because you had to go deep, right? You couldn't go surface level. And then I do my travels overseas. I realize that the way that we help people get well is always through a subtractive method, typically, before adding in. And that's why in an ideal world, we start with the detox. We open up the pathways. Think about this. If you have a gas leak in your house, of course you want to get out of your house, right? But if you have a gas leak in your house, what do? You do 2 things. 1, you see if you can shut off the gas. Why? So that you don't continue to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, right? So you don't keep leaking gas in your house. What's the second thing? You open the windows. What does that do? It detoxifies the house, right? You disperse, you get rid of those gas-based vapors. Now, of course, if this ever happens, you should leave the house. But that is what you would do. That you would always look for, how am I filling up, right? So this person who has the brain fog and all the different issues, we need to seal up that gut, and we also need to eliminate food sensitivities, a lot of other things. So even though this person's in a weakened state, what am I recommending? I'm still recommending the rest that they're doing right now, but longer fasts. And the reason is that I can't put a lot of food and nutrients and other things in the body until their body's less overwhelmed. But the foods I do put in their body, I want to get to now, is because of the deficiencies. This is so important. We are asking people now, through many amazing health coaches and doctors and practitioners all over the world. But the problem is this. They're giving recommendations to people based on foods that the people could not possibly break down and digest. in a weakened state. That's why I want to qualify that, in a weakened state. Okay? So, I'm a big proponent of leafy greens. The problem is this. You have to have good, strong digestion to break down raw leafy greens. And if you don't, it does not make it wrong for the recommendation, but it's not appropriate for every person. So the person has to be able to break down the nutrients in order to absorb the nutrition. So this is very important. People get into it all the time. How can I get the results that you talk about without using any nutritional supplements? And I say, well, then you have to improve the strength of digestion. And I'm with you. Believe me, I was there. I was an idealist. I get it. I'm in a total agreement. I wish we could do that. But there's also this very strange dichotomy we have between supplements and food. If you drink coffee, is that a food? Because I'd beg to differ that it's not. At one point, it was a coffee bean. How many people eat coffee beans? Not a lot, right? What do? You pour hot water over it after you've ground them up. Sounds like a supplement to me. Sounds like tea, right? Okay, well, what's tea? Well, you can take tea leaves, or you can take herbs, which is technically not a tea, and then you do what? Like, let's just say ginger. Okay, so you take your ginger, you dry it out, you put it in a tea bag, and you make tea. Is that a supplement? Sounds like a supplement to me. You pour water over it. What does it do? Well, it's tremendous for digestion and all the other amazing things that ginger does, right? Anti-cancer, antibacterial, it's antispasmodic. It's a phenomenal herb. And I'm not saying not to use it. What about chamomile? We put it in a tea. Is it a supplement? Sounds like a supplement to me, right? We're using it as a supplement to our diet. So that's the thing. Okay, if I were to take that ginger and put it in a capsule, is that still okay? Or is it only okay as a tea? And is it okay dried, or is it only okay if it's sliced and put in hot water? Like, we draw these lines in the sand that are unnecessary. In my opinion, a doctor or good integrative health practitioner, their only goal is to help you get well. By all means necessary, by all natural means necessary. So if someone says, oh yeah, well, I'll have oregano and I'll eat cloves and all of that, I say, great. Will you do it in a capsule? Because that's all we're talking about. Concentrated doses that you would not be able to get at the same level in a capsule, right? So that's why you have to understand is that supplements are not the enemy as long as they are GMP, right? Good manufacturing practices. They're third-party certified, and they're clean, right? That's what we're looking to do, because when a person's in their weakened state, we need to do two things. We need to replace their deficiencies, right? We need to replace the deficiencies. So if there's a lack of B vitamins, well, what could we do? Well, we could have red meat if you're into red meat, okay? I'm not saying that I'm a huge proponent of red meat, but you can do that. That has B vitamins. You can eat liver. You can do that. Very high in B vitamins. Hard pressed to find anything higher, right? Let's say you want to go more of a vegan-based route. All right, what about your dark leafy greens? Okay, we can do that. But here's the problem. All the foods that I just named are very hard to digest. If someone's that deficient in B12 and it could really help them, might it help if they did supplemental B12, maybe just for 12 weeks? I don't see why not. Why would that be beneficial? Because if we get the person healthy, their digestion gets stronger as well. They have more energy. You need energy for digestion. About 1/3 of your energy goes to digestion. What if you have no energy? How strong do you think your digestion is going to be? Because it needs to save energy for organs, for the internal organs in the brain. So how much do you really think is going to be diverted towards breaking down food? Not a lot, because your body's smart. It's going to keep you alive. You might not feel great, but it's going to do its job. So I recommend easy to digest foods. Not only when you're trying to get well, but also when you're trying to lose weight. Why? Because there's this overlooked fact that a lot of people that are overweight right now have actually really poor digestion and really poor metabolism of nutrients. What does that mean? It means when they eat food, they get a fraction of the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, and other micronutrients in there. Why is that important? Because the body does not run on calories alone. We have to move past that fact. The body does not run on calories alone. Because if you're just looking at calories in, calories out, you are missing the point of health. That's it. You might be able to regulate fat burning or weight gain in some people, but not everyone, that's for sure. Because I've seen people on 400 to 600 calories a day, and they still don't lose weight. What are they going to eat, 200 calories? because the body will find a way to even shut down to a slower degree from there. But there's so many people out there right now that get tremendous benefit when we work with them. And we say, listen, here is the issues going on with your gut. Here's your hair tissue mineral analysis. Here's your thyroid adrenal hormone. But really what we need to do is you get bloated oftentimes when you eat. A lot of people who have difficulty losing weight get a lot of bloating as well. And that's a dead giveaway that there's either low stomach acid, that there's low bile production because of that congested liver, that there's candida overgrowth, that there might be H. pylori, that there might be parasites, that there might be bacterial overgrowth, and their gut microbiome is not balanced. Well, what does that mean? It means that when they take in food, they do not physically break it down as well. It begins to ferment in the gut and it creates more yeast overgrowth, more bacterial overgrowth. And again, this is all proven through science. It's just not shared with you in a typical PCP conversation. Why? Because this podcast right now just hit 25 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm looking at the timer right now because I know my time is up with you right now. But here's the interesting thing. This podcast you're listening to right now, I can guarantee you that it's at least 10 minutes more than you would get with your average PCP appointment. And it's not their fault. Your doctor has 15-minute appointments. And guess what? Part of that, 5 minutes maximum is allowing you to speak. They'll give their recommendations and then they have to input their electronic medical records. That's the industry we're in. It is not healthcare. It's sick care. It's not preventative. It is a Band-Aid based approach. And if you're an MD listening to this, I have the greatest respect for you. There's no doubt in my mind that you're brilliant, that you're very, very intelligent. My wish for you is that I know that you can't change the system alone, but you can begin to start to practice more of a naturopathic, more of an integrative, more of a functional medicine-based approach. And there are many practices out there right now looking for really great MDs, because MDs who are willing to do this work, there's not a lot out there. And it's a great niche to be in. So I do want to keep these podcasts to a manageable time. I know that sometimes I go over, but I need you to understand that those people right now that are not absorbing that nutrition, their body cries out for more. And it's oftentimes why people eat plenty of food and they're still hungry. One of the reasons is they're not getting the right macros for carbs, protein, and fat, because your body needs all of them to be satiated. It needs all of the 5 tastes. I've given you that before in a previous Ayurvedic podcast. But also, if your body is not breaking down the food properly, from the stomach to the small intestine with the bile, to the enzymes, right, in the stomach, and then also in that first part of the small intestine called the duodenum, and then breaking it down into all the vitamins and neurotransmitters that your body needs, it's going to call for more food. Why? Because if you can only absorb a fraction of the calories from, let's say each day you need 1,600 calories, okay? But let's just say you absorb the nutrients of maybe 500 calories of that 1,600. Your body doesn't see the 1,600 in micronutrients, so it asks for more. So now you're overeating and you're in a worse off position because you're getting plenty of calories, but not enough nutrition. And that's what so many people are dealing with right now. Yes, you can use a digestive enzyme in the short term. Yes, you can use ginger tea. Yes, you can do a lot of things like that, and I do recommend them. But the goal is always to look at what are my deficiencies, what are my toxicities. And the other thing is this, that whatever you're dealing with, there's an answer to it. For sure, there's an answer to it. So many people right now, they're dealing with being overweight. They can't lose the weight, whether it's just 10 pounds to go or whether it's 100 pounds. Your body is telling you by holding that weight that something's wrong. That something's wrong, not just calories in, calories out. Because if you're eating well and you're moving your body, even just walking, you should not be 50 plus pounds overweight. So we're talking about a real metabolic issue. And metabolism is far more than just the calories burned, right, versus the calories you consumed. Metabolism stands for the hormones, your endocrinology, your cell metabolism, right? What actually gets seen in that cell? Do you have blocked insulin-based receptors? Do you have blocked estrogen-based receptors with more toxic-based estrogen forms? So we look at all these things. These are all crucial things to be working with a health coach, or running a lab on your own, or just even beginning with something like a 21-day functional medicine detox. We'll link all of these up in the show notes today, but honestly, I wanted to give you an overview, a macro standpoint of understanding that this goes deeper than using some nutritional supplements. This goes deeper than, doing your 15-minute twice a year visit with your doctor. This is about for a lifetime of health. What do you need to do? And what you need to do is be on the lookout, whether it's blood work or at-home clinical-based lab tests, for what are your toxicities, and start to feel them. Really, you'll feel them. You will not have the energy, the vitality, the zest for life, the ambition, the drive that I spoke about previously. You won't have that if you're filling up that rain barrel. And at the same time, if you're deficient in vitamin C, your B vitamins, your antioxidants, your amino acids, you're not going to be in a good mood and you're not going to have energy either. That's why it's a double-edged sword. It's too much of stuff and it's too little of stuff. That in its essence, that's what we look for in true bioregulatory medicine. This goes even well beyond functional medicine. This is more of a natural hygienist bioregulatory system of looking at the overall body. The body, it actually malfunctions in a very specific way. I talked about this before, and I know I could keep going forever, but I talked about the 6 phases of disease, right? I outline it for you, how you move through it. Conventional medicine only looks at the 5th and 6th stage where disease begins to manifest itself through symptoms. If you know what to look for, you will start to see it creep up. Go back, check out that show as well, the 6 phases of disease. It's called homotoxicology. Absolutely amazing. There's so much. There's more than 1,000 previous podcasts for you to continue your education. Again, I'm here to help. My whole team's here to help. Just wanted to give you more of that. Like I said, sitting in the plane, 15,000 feet above. Here's what's going on. There's a correction. There's a course correction is the best way to look at it for everyone. It means that, okay, this isn't working well. Was it just too much? Like, did you do too much too soon? Okay, let's cut back a little bit. Let's ease into it. Not enough, right? Not enough of the detoxification, whether it's a functional medicine detox, sauna, sweating, whatever it might be. Maybe not enough sleep, but all of these things are laid out for you. It's in the rain barrel effect. It's part of the de-stress protocol. And these are all things that we work on every single day. I'm going to keep it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Always appreciate your support. Appreciate your listens. Feel free to share this episode with anyone you believe it could help. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.